Welcome to another episode of the Retirepreneur podcast. I'm your host with this week's executive summary for busy entrepreneurs building their second act business. Today's episode is designed for maximum impact in minimum time. Imagine finally walking away from a 40-year career, feeling completely financially secure, and then realizing that working just a few hours a week could actually net you a 32% larger Social Security check.
Yeah, that is a wild realization, honestly.
It really is. So today we are doing a deep dive into the surprisingly complex mechanics of the modern transition out of the workforce. We are analyzing a stack of fascinating sources, primarily the frameworks developed by Kurt Rose at the Retirepreneur platform.
Right. And for some context, Kurt is a CPA and former CFO who retired at 61, and then he actually went back for a master's degree in entrepreneurship.
Which is pretty impressive on its own.
Definitely.
Right.
And he has been actively building these transition strategies in real time.
We are also looking at a 2026 Fidelity study that maps out exactly how the modern professional views their later years. Our mission today is to extract the three most actionable insights from these sources to help you build a financially optimized soft retirement.
And the overarching theme in all these materials is that the old model of leaving the workforce is completely dead. I mean, for decades, society operated on what we call the cliff retirement model.
Right, the classic gold watch scenario.
Exactly. You worked for 40 uninterrupted years, your company handed you that gold watch on a Friday afternoon, and on Monday, you were just entirely out of the game.
You were either a full-time employee or you were fully stopped.
Yeah, it was very binary. The rules were comforting because of that binary nature.
Yeah.
But that model relied on a very specific set of historical assumptions,
Right, like shorter lifespans for one.
Shorter lifespans, guaranteed monthly pension checks that just arrived like clockwork, and crucially, employer-covered health care straight through to your later years.
But today, a 65-year-old in 2026 has 25 to 30 more years of life to plan for. Most professionals do not have pensions anymore.
No, they have investment portfolios.
Exactly. So stopping work completely overnight is actually a massive financial shock to the system. You are suddenly entirely dependent on the fluctuating stock market to buy your groceries.
And the Fidelity data shows that people are really waking up to this reality. Their 2026 study found that 61% of Americans plan to transition gradually rather than stop all at once.
Wow, 61%. That is huge.
It is. And 72% expect to dictate the terms of their own departure. So those numbers represent a massive behavioral shift.
Right. When nearly 3/4 of the population rejects the traditional cliff retirement, you have to look at the underlying math driving that decision.
Absolutely. And that mathematical reality is our first major insight from the Retirepreneur framework today. The financial mechanics of full retirement versus partial income are just vastly different.
So let us bring that down. To understand the protective power of partial income, imagine your monthly living expenses are $5,000.
Okay, so if you fully retire tomorrow, you are pulling that entire $5,000 out of your portfolio every single month. And that is regardless of what the stock market is doing.
Right. But suppose you generate $3,000 a month from a small consulting gig or a specialized coaching practice. Your required portfolio drops to just $2,000.
And on the surface, that just sounds like nice supplemental income, right? Extra cash is always good.
Yeah, exactly.
But Kurt Rose's framework argues that this partial income is actually a structural defense mechanism for your wealth. It fundamentally changes your risk profile.
Because of sequence of returns risk, right?
Yeah, sequence of returns risk. It sounds technical, but it is critical. A severe market downturn occurring in your first 2 or 3 years of full retirement is one of the most damaging financial events you can possibly face.
Because you are forced to sell while the market is down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When the stock market falls 20% and you are fully dependent on your portfolio for that $5,000, you are forced to sell a significantly higher number of shares at depressed prices just to cover your basic living expenses.
So you are liquidating your assets at the absolute worst possible moment.
Yes, you are locking in those losses permanently.
It feels like you are forced to sell off rooms of your house at rock bottom prices during a real estate crash just to buy groceries.
That is a perfect analogy, yeah. You are slowly dismantling your own foundation because you literally have no other source of cash.
And worse, once you sell that guest room, it does not matter if the real estate market booms next year.
Right, you no longer own that room to capture the upside. The same applies to your investment portfolio.
A recovering stock market cannot fully undo the arithmetic damage because you have permanently fewer shares left to grow.
Which is why soft retirement income acts as a crucial risk management tool against this scenario. By reducing your monthly draw from $5,000 down to $2,000, you give your portfolio meaningful breathing room.
Breathing room to weather the storm and actually recover.
Exactly. Fully retired investors simply do not have that safety valve.
There is another massive gap that soft retirement income covers, and the sources highlight it as a major source of anxiety for people over 55.
Oh, the healthcare bridge.
Yes, the healthcare bridge. In 2025 alone, 11,400 Americans turned 65 every single day.
That is a staggering number of people.
It really is. And the bridge between early retirement and Medicare eligibility at age 65 is a formidable hurdle. I mean, if you leave your corporate job at 60, you instantly lose that employer-subsidized health insurance.
And funding that gap on your own is wildly expensive. The Affordable Care Act marketplace premiums for early retirees are substantial.
What kind of numbers are we talking about here?
Well, the data shows they typically run anywhere from $8,000 to $25,000 annually.
Oh, wow, up to 25 grand.
Yeah, depending on your specific age, your location, and whether your income qualifies for any subsidies.
So if you are fully retired and drawing an extra $25,000 a year out of your portfolio solely to pay for health insurance,
you are heavily degrading your long-term wealth, yes. The Retirepreneur strategy recommends using your soft retirement income to directly fund this exact bridge.
So you essentially ring-fence your consulting or coaching revenue to just pay those medical premiums?
Exactly. That leaves your core retirement savings completely untouched and growing till Medicare finally kicks in at 65.
Wait, I'm looking at this math and thinking about the conventional wisdom. If I keep generating $3,000 a month, are the tax authorities and the Social Security office going to penalize me for working?
That is what everyone seems terrified of, right?
Yeah, I hear people worry constantly that if they keep earning money, they are somehow ruining their Social Security payout.
It is a very common fear.
Yeah.
But the reality is actually the exact opposite if you plan your transition strategically.
Really? How so?
Well, earning partial income actually gives you the financial leverage to optimize your Social Security. Most traditional retirement plans treat your work transition and your Social Security claiming strategy as two completely separate decisions.
Okay, but the soft retirement framework connects them.
Yes. Every single month you generate that partial business income is another month you can afford to delay claiming your Social Security benefits.
And the Social Security Administration rules are very clear on the reward for delaying. If you hold off on claiming until you reach age 70, you receive up to a 32% higher monthly benefit.
32%. And that is not just a temporary bump for a few years either.
Right. That is a permanent, inflation-adjusted increase in guaranteed monthly income for the rest of your life.
So by bringing in that $3,000 a month, you are doing three things at once. You are protecting your portfolio from selling shares at a loss. You are paying cash for your healthcare bridge. And you are buying yourself the time required to supercharge your lifelong government benefit.
The arithmetic works in multiple directions simultaneously. You are optimizing all your financial levers at once.
It really is a powerful strategy.
But that mathematical revelation naturally introduces our second major insight. So if the math is screaming at us that we need to generate $3,000 a month to survive a market downturn, the anxiety immediately sets in.
Oh, for sure. How do you actually do that without getting another demanding boss?
Right. Most professionals stepping away from a 40-year career have zero desire to return to the corporate grind they just escaped.
And the Retirepreneur platform addresses this head-on. They outline 3 specific business models recommended for professionals with deep domain expertise.
They refer to these as the 3 C's, right?
Yes, the 3 C's. Consulting, coaching, and course, cohort, and community models.
Let us break down how these actually function for someone in a soft retirement.
Well, consulting is the most direct path. This involves project-based work with a very clearly defined scope.
So it is not just open-ended employment.
No, not at all. It is incredibly effective for former executives and domain specialists who have a specific solution to a costly business problem. The income range here is highly variable, but frequently falls between $3,000 and $10,000 a month.
That is a solid income for part-time work.
It is. But the critical mindset shift required here is realizing you are selling 40 years of acquired judgment. You are no longer selling your time by the hour.
You price your services based on the financial value of the problem you are solving for the client.
Exactly, which allows for total flexibility over your schedule.
Let us ground that in a real-world scenario. I'm thinking about a professional who has worked in corporate logistics and supply chain management for 35 years.
Okay, great example.
They know exactly where shipping bottlenecks happen and how much those bottlenecks cost a massive retail company. They do not need to build a massive agency to be successful.
Right, they might just need 2 former vendors or industry contacts to pay them a $1,500 monthly retainer.
Just for 5 hours of strategic advice.
That logistics expert is the perfect example. They are simply monetizing the mental models they already use every day.
So what about the second model?
The second model, coaching, takes a slightly different approach. Coaching focuses on recurring monthly relationships rather than defined projects.
Okay, so it is more ongoing.
Yes. A specialized professional coach might charge $500 to $2,000 per client every month. Managing a small roster might only require 10 to 15 hours a week in total.
I see. In Kurt Rose's framework, he positions coaching as a solution to the stress of project work.
It definitely is.
It seems like it would solve the feast or famine cycle that can sometimes happen with consulting. When you have recurring monthly revenue, it completely changes your emotional relationship with your income.
You are not constantly hunting for the next gig. Predictability is a massive stress reliever during a big life transition.
So then you have the third model, the course, cohort, and community approach.
Right. This is essentially a build once, sell repeatedly model. You document your expertise into a digital curriculum or a paid community group.
And this model yields anywhere from a few $100s to over $2,000 per offering.
Yes, but it requires significant upfront effort to build the educational materials and actually structure the community.
However, it offers the highest return eventually because it scales infinitely, right?
Exactly. Adding 100 new students does not require 100 extra hours of your time.
The major caveat with that third model is the timeline, though. The sources explicitly note that it usually takes 12 to 24 months to build a loyal audience large enough to make a course or community financially viable.
Yeah, that is a very real constraint. It is a long game.
And that brings up a massive point of friction for many listeners. Going back to our logistics expert, they know supply chains inside and out, but they have never been an entrepreneur.
Right. They're a corporate veteran.
They probably do not know how to code a website, run a digital advertising campaign, or use complex email marketing software. The imposter syndrome kicks in hard here.
Oh, absolutely.
Do they need to go back to school or acquire complex new technical skills to start one of these businesses?
Kurt Rose's philosophy is really emphatic on this point. You absolutely do not need new credentials.
That is a relief to hear.
You already possess the necessary expertise to provide immense value. You do not need a fancy website. You do not need a complex marketing funnel.
So what do you actually need then?
You simply need a clear offer and a conversation with your existing network.
Just leveraging the people you already know.
Exactly. If your goal is the absolute fastest path to bridging the healthcare gap we discussed earlier, consulting is almost always the answer.
Because it is so direct.
Right. You define one specific problem you spent your career solving. You reach out to former colleagues, vendors, or industry contacts.
And securing one single engagement at $3,000 a month fundamentally alters your entire retirement trajectory.
It takes so much pressure off the transition. You are not trying to build the next massive tech startup.
You are just trying to build a highly efficient, low-stress income engine that supports your life. Exactly.
Okay, so let us say our logistics expert lands that retainer. The engine is humming, the $3,000 is hitting their bank account every month, and they are feeling great.
Life is good.
Life is good. But that new success introduces our third and perhaps most surprising insight: the government's invisible thresholds and the importance of a finish line.
Yeah, this is where things get a bit tricky. Earning independent money in your later years triggers complex rules you probably never encountered during your primary career.
These invisible wires are critical to understand. Before you sign a single client or set your consulting rate, there are two massive financial thresholds for 2026 that you must plan around.
And ignorance here can be incredibly costly.
The first is the IRMAA threshold.
Right, IRMAA.
Let us define that clearly, because IRAA sounds like a terrible tax season headache. It stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount.
And it revolves around a metric called Modified Adjusted Gross Income, or MAGI. Okay, so Modified Adjusted Gross Income is essentially your total income for the year, plus a few specific tax deductions added back in by the government.
Yes, it is basically the raw number the government uses to judge your wealth. For 2026, the IRMAA threshold is set at $109,000 in modified adjusted gross income for single filers.
And if your new consulting income, combined with your investment draws and any other revenue, pushes you over that specific limit,
it triggers a mandatory surcharge on your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums.
Let us paint a picture of how severe this is. If a single filer makes $109,000, their Medicare costs remain standard.
Right.
But if they take on one extra small consulting project and their income hits $109,001, they trip an invisible wire.
Their Medicare premiums spike. It is a cliff penalty, not a gradual slope.
Suddenly, your healthcare costs jump significantly simply because you were slightly too successful in your soft retirement business.
It is so counterintuitive, but it happens all the time. Most soft retirees never anticipate this penalty because they never had to worry about Medicare surcharges while they were on their employer's health plan.
And depending on exactly how far over the line your income goes, these surcharges can eat up a substantial portion of your consulting profits.
Easily. It can really wipe out the benefit of that extra project.
And then there is the second invisible wire, the Social Security earnings test threshold.
Right, another big one to watch out for.
For 2026, this limit is set at $24,480. Crucially, this only applies if you claim your Social Security benefits before you reach your full retirement age.
Yes, that is an important distinction.
If you are claiming early and you earn business income above that $24,000 mark, your benefits are reduced by $1 for every $2 you earn over the limit.
The government essentially withholds a portion of your check because you are still generating significant income.
That sounds incredibly frustrating.
It is. Now, those withheld funds are eventually credited back to you after you reach full retirement age, but it causes a severe short-term cash flow disruption.
And it catches many new consultants completely off guard.
Absolutely.
It sounds like these thresholds are not stop signs telling you to pull over and quit working entirely. They are more like speed cameras on a highway.
Oh, I like that comparison.
You absolutely need to know exactly where they are placed so you can adjust your speed and structure your consulting fees accordingly before you pass them.
And just like a speed camera, receiving the penalty ticket in the mail months later is a terrible surprise.
Yeah.
You really have to manage your speed beforehand.
So a strategic professional understands these thresholds and uses them as planning inputs.
Exactly. You might choose to defer client billing to the next calendar year just to stay under the IRMA limit.
Or you might use the earnings test as the ultimate motivation to simply delay claiming Social Security until you reach full retirement age.
Which is smart because at that point, the earnings test completely disappears and you can earn as much as you want without penalty.
You just have to know the rules of the road before you put your business in drive.
Very well said.
That planning process leads directly to the final piece of the puzzle, the finish line. The Retirepreneur platform places immense emphasis on setting a strict, definitive endpoint for your soft retirement.
Yes, the endpoint is crucial.
But if the consulting is low stress, the clients are happy, and the financial math is working perfectly, why is forcing a finish line so important?
Because human nature gets in the way of our own happiness. Without a clearly defined endpoint, a soft retirement slowly morphs into indefinite employment.
You just keep going and going.
Exactly. You start rationalizing. You tell yourself you will do just one more year of consulting to pad the investment portfolio, or just one more year of delaying Social Security to get a slightly higher bump.
You get trapped in the one more year syndrome, perpetually delaying your actual freedom.
The fear of running out of money is so deeply ingrained after a 40-year career that it becomes incredibly difficult to just turn the income engine off.
Suddenly you are 75 years old and still taking anxious client calls while you are supposed to be on vacation with your grandchildren.
The transition never completes because there is no finish line to cross.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. The most successful soft retirements are structured intentionally over a specific 3 to 5 year period.
So you define what being fully retired means to you in concrete terms.
Yes. And you pick a specific date on the calendar. You then work backward from that date to dictate the pace and scale of your consulting or coaching work.
Setting that date gives you the psychological permission to eventually let go of the business identity.
And actually enjoy the complete freedom you have spent your entire life building toward. You really have to know when you have won the game.
It is about having a deliberate exit strategy for your transition strategy. This deep dive has completely reframed how I view the later stages of a career. We have covered the hidden math that protects your portfolio from market downturns and fins your healthcare bridge.
We have explored the 3 C's, showing exactly how professionals can monetize their existing judgment without needing to learn complex new technical skills.
And we have outlined the invisible government thresholds you must plan around, along with the profound psychological importance of setting a definitive finish line.
When you synthesize all these elements together, soft retirement stops being just a vague cultural buzzword.
It becomes a highly strategic mathematical advantage.
It transforms a period of deep uncertainty into a structured process where you maintain total control over your time and your wealth.
And speaking of taking control, I want to leave you with one final, concrete action step to try on your own this week. Open up your current retirement planning documents and find the assumed monthly withdrawal rate you have mapped out for day 1 of your full retirement.
Just that one number.
Yes. Now, run just one alternative scenario. What happens to your portfolio balance if you generate $2,000 to $3,000 a month in consulting revenue for just the first 3 years?
Just 3 years.
Look at how that relatively small influx of cash changes the entire trajectory of your wealth over a 20-year horizon. Seeing that arithmetic play out might just give you the confidence to start building your second act today. That's your executive briefing for this week. If you found value in these insights, share this episode with fellow retirepreneurs and subscribe to the Retirepreneur newsletter at retirepreneur.com. Follow us for weekly strategic insights, and remember, your most successful chapter is just beginning. Until next week, keep building.